Recording is started, red lights are on. Welcome to the Microservices course in winter term 2021-2022. It's a joint course for Douala and Kassel, and we are in our 5th lecture roughly. And we have started last week to actually build a database or the backend, so the pink parts of our application after all. And we were doing this by connecting to Atlas. And where's my Atlas? It's not here. Here it is. Is it? Yeah, why not? Let's have a look. So we are using the Atlas MongoDB, which is in the cloud, just a computer that is gives us a free of charge database. And there it is. And we were living in the My First database, and there it has event stores. And then we have at least one object in there, just one object in there. Okay, that's not enough. Let's have more objects in there. I have switched my setup a little bit into, I've learned this from Sebastian last week. We will have one Visual Studio Code, which I have opened at the root of the whole system, where this project monorepo as Albert Zündorf lives. And in there are two subdirectories for Microshop and Micro Warehouse. And in the Micro Warehouse, we have the backend and the front end. And I have actually started both of those two projects. In this small window, there runs the front end. In this small window, there runs the backend. And you can actually split your terminals in half using, there's something here. There's a small icon that allows you to do that. Okay, and we are working at the backend currently, and there we go for source, and there is a main thing and an app controller after all. The app controller has this get hello thing and the get query thing, which is not yet really implemented. And so the application controller is the part of our web server. We are programming a web server where the HTTP requests are coming in. And then these HTTP, these URLs, this long string that provides you with a lot of parameters needs to be decoded. You can do that by hand, but you will probably do a lot of mistakes and have a lot of lessons to learn. And so we actually let Nest, our basic software here, our platform, do the decoding of the URL. So Nest parses the URL, this long string with HTTP, localhost 3000, blah, 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 query, palettes, and decipher what the request is. And then you have a bunch of patterns that you actually set. So if it is a get with just the name of the computer and the port number, then we will actually do this get hello thing. And if it is a get with a query and a key, then we will actually call a method app service get query. Let's actually do this. So we go for the course thing first, or you want to show it later? Who wants to have the course? It's just a PowerPoint slide now. So yeah, so Sebastian says I should actually say where we are. We are here. We are implementing this scenario here. We have the warehouse, which is here. Get away. And enlarge it a little bit like this. Oh, that one is working. Oh, no, that's not true. Okay. It is an old state. You see here, if you go for the warehouse, you have the choice to do store tasks or pick tasks. If you do store tasks, You go nowhere. Yes, here we are. You see two pairs of red shoes in shelf 42 and 43, and then you can go for the add, and then you can actually send something. And that was where we actually stopped and said, okay, to send some data to our backend, we need actually a backend. And actually, the data we show in the front end, this one here, is just dummy data that we have created in the ng on init, and it's not data that stems from or comes from our backend. So it's just a basic thing here, and please ignore this thing here. It's just debug output that we are going to use through the course. What we have implemented is this thing here. This is a mockup which says warehouse home and stored us and picked us. This was the very first screen. Then we have this warehouse pallets thing, which should be empty at the system start, and we have some dummy data there. So we show something like this one here or this one here, a list of pallets that we already have. And then we can do the add button, and we go for this dialog here where we actually enter data of a new pallet, and then we press OK. When we do OK, we want to send something which is here a command to our backend, and we will do this today. And then the backend is this warehouse server, our microwarehouse backend or something like that. When we'll actually store data in its database. And this is this data thing, and that is where we are currently working on. And actually what we do first now is that we set up a database, fill it with some dummy data, and then do this query here for the list of pallets that our database knows about. So we actually, this is the first step to connect this page with the warehouse. That's the thing that we are currently doing. Good? Yeah. Okay, Sebastian seems to be happy. And so, what is going to be sent? Let's look at that. So there's a store task component TS, which is a thing that we still don't have. And currently our ng on init in that, actually, no, we have this pallets and they are filled with some dummy data. No? And we do that on start of the store task component. And we have this string here that is displayed in the page for debugging purposes. We'll get rid of it later on. And then I have actually extended this with a new variable, a new attribute, which is called getResults. Let's rename that. That's a funny name. Let's have this as a response, something like that. And ng on init is a method that Angular is actually calling when the component is displayed. So when component displayed means when this page is shown. Okay, and so what I have added now is this thing here. This.http get any query pallets to promise. And this is the thing that we are today need to implement. So what does this actually do? So HTTP is it's a global component or global object that is provided by this module magic that we are using in Angular. And you actually have a constructor and say, I have a private thing, HTTP is the name of the thing and client is the type of this thing. And I want access to this global thing via the name HTTP. So it actually creates an attribute within our object or class and magically initializes this attribute with the content of a global variable. That's actually what's happening here. And the HTTP client comes with the Angular package, and this is the thing how your the code running in Angular in the browser is able to contact some web server and retrieve new HTML content or JSON content. And we are asking for JSON object descriptions that we ask that contain palettes after all. So, and then you actually provide an URL. So on the HTTP object, you can say, I want to do a GET, which is the usual HTTP GET thing. You can also do a post, a put, or a delete, or something like that, but we only use GET and post in this course. And then the GET, you say, I would like to get back something like HTML, which is to be rendered on the screen, or you can say, I want something like JSON. You can actually say, give a data type here, a TypeScript data type, but we actually do not have a data type for the reply yet, so we just put any here, which means I want a Java, a TypeScript object, a JSON object back. And then you say, okay, go for localhost 3000, which is the default thing where our backend lives, and use the query or the URL query and palettes. Okay, this is then app controller matches this annotation here because it says, yeah, I have a query, and palettes is going to become matched by key. And then you can actually say, okay, when such an URL comes in, such a GET request comes in, so we are at the backend now. Ooh, oh, that's a confiscating. Damn it. Okay, we are at the backend now. We want, if this URL comes in with query and palettes, we want to call this operation, and the palettes thing here is mapped to the key, and then we say, okay, the URL parameter, the colon key here is called URL parameter, is matched to the key parameter of our TypeScript method. That's cool. Okay, and it should be a string. And then this one returns a promise, which is again a string. Is this cool? I have no idea. Huh. Oh, we should do an any here. Yeah, okay. Okay, and we will have a discussion on what a promise actually means during today. So, and then it does this.app service. So we are in the application controller in the backend of our application, of our warehouse. The controller decodes the URL and then hands over to operations where the actual logic of our backend lives, which is the app service. Yeehaw, so app service, here we are. And there's this operation get query here. And I have to put this down a little bit, but we still want to see it. And actually I could get rid of that one. Go away. Okay. Is this font big enough? You can actually see it. I hope so. Okay. The get query currently actually gives an answer which is has an object which is an answer or named answer. And this is an object which has a key, the query key after all, and a result or response, I'm not sure about that, which is a list of these things. And this is again dummy data, which is not the real data that we would like to give back, but this is currently just dummy data. And then we have an idea how the data actually looks like that we are going to send back to our front end. And it has the so-called build events or data events, you name it. So let's stick with the name build events. Or data transfer objects is also a very common phrase for this, and we will have to discuss the details of that. So our communication between front-end and back-end will be with events only. We will have real objects in our database later on that might have pointers to each others. However, if you send data from one computer node from the backend to the front end, which runs in the JavaScript engine of our browser, which is a completely different virtual computer, you have different main memory. And the pointer that you use in the backend is of no use in the front end because that are completely different main memories, and so the pointers are meaningless. So you need to replace pointers by IDs to refer to other objects. And this is what these events actually do for you. And there is more things to come when we have multiple backends, one for the warehouse and one for the shop, and those want to communicate with each other. Then it is very important for us to have something like a timestamp. That is, two people are actually doing buy the same pair of shoes, and who is now getting this pair of shoes? Or two people are putting a pallet at the same place. Which pallet is actually living there later on? To resolve these kinds of conflicts, we need a timestamp. And then we have a possibility to say, okay, there are two people who are doing something which is in conflict, and this guy is going to win. And there are multiple strategies to do that. And actually, this is a core design issue for microservices, how you handle merge conflicts or editing conflicts between multiple people. It might even happen that multiple people of our warehouse application do such a conflict. And even then, for a single microservice, we will have to deal with these kinds of conflicts. And so the idea that this course propagates is you have something which we call a block ID, because it's a building block of data that is, an atomic thing that you can only change at all or nothing. And so it comes also from a design pattern. So we call the minimal, the Lego bricks that our data is constructed from a block, and then we get a block ID. We get a time when this is done. We get an event type because we have multiple types, and well, type information is actually locked in TypeScript, so we actually added. I'm not sure that we need it, but it will help us to deal with these events. And the event is palette stored. This comes from our event storming from this example scenario that we need. So then there are tags, and we'll have to discuss these. And I give this object the tags palettes and red shoes, and we will use these tags for querying our event store. So these events that we will have will be stored in our database, and then we will have a database query where we can ask for a certain subset of events. And here we are asking for all the events that deal with palettes. We could also ask with all the events that have red shoes involved. And you can actually, through this tagging, prepare database queries or facilitate database queries that look for certain things. And the things that our front end is looking for is give me all the palettes. This is for the this view of the list of palettes. And then there is another one that we will later have when we do the picking task, where, oh, please send some red shoes to Alice, to our customer. Then you need to know where are red shoes. And these idea is already prepared here by tagging the responsible palettes with these keywords. And we can have a list of those. And then there's a payload, which is something like any. So we don't care, and we have a barcode, a product, an amount, and a location. This is the data that we have from one palette. And there is another palette, great. And let's have some other data here. So it's have shelf 84, come on. It's 2 times thing just to see that this works. So if I save this one here starts to do something, and if it's not red, then it says, yeah, I did it. Cool. And there's something wrong here. Oh, this is unhandled something. I have found what the problem with this one is, and how to solve this. We will do that. Okay. And then this is the return. Well, actually, that is not a good return. We will do something different here with the get query thing. And actually, what we will do is we will ask our database. Let me have the app. So I've prepared this. And so I replace this with another query. So I do a new implementation of this thing here that I have prepared at home, and we just put this one in here. And so it says, I want to use a model builder service. We were preparing this model builder service last week, and this is where our database actually live. I'm not sure whether this is a good idea to separate the app service and the model builder service, but let's give it a try. If it's not a good idea, we will do different for the shop, and then we see alternatives, and then we have this. So we actually need this model builder service, and I just add the corresponding constructor here, and then we will discuss where this comes from and have a look at it. We don't have a model builder service here. So, I think you just named it another, maybe. Please? I think you created it, but you named it. Give it a different name in modules, and it's the builder module. And we want the builder service, and we want this name. Okay. And we want this in the app service. Okay, here it says, okay, you can have an import. Here we are. We will look in that one soon. So this is actually saying, again, this thing where I have a shared global variable, and I declare in my constructor, I want to have it, and I will want to call it model builder service. Oh, couldn't it be a smaller name? Come on. Yeah. And so what we do is, we call, I will discuss this await soon. We call model builder service get by tag, and we do not yet have a get by tag. So let's go for the builder service. Here we are. What do we have in this builder service? We do have a constructor, which again has this magic with I have a shared variable, which is a model, but actually you can have multiple model, which is actually my database. Now, and this is the model of the database, and I have this build event, which is the database schema for our event store. And actually, let's have a look at that one. Build event is actually the schema which says, oh, I have an event type, I have a block ID, I have a time, I have a text, and I have a payload. And then it says, oh, this is actually a schema of a database, of a Mongo database. So we have schema imported from Mongoose schema. Mongoose is actually the library that we use to access our Mongo database. So it's a TypeScript library that provides us access or methods that allows us to query our real database, which is living in the AWS cloud. Oh my God. I'm confused myself. Okay, and then we says, okay, this event type thing becomes a property in our database, which is mandatory. The block ID becomes a mandatory property. This comes, all these are required properties. And the payload is a required property. And if this says any, the Mongo database says, okay, what do you want me to do as a database type? And actually, if I do, I have no idea. So it was well, yelling at me and says, no, I do not understand what to do. And I added this, I Googled it, and it said, put a type, mongoose schema types mixed in here, and then it is the same like any type of JSON object. And we could actually do something more particular here, and we will probably do later on. Currently, it's just fine. So this is the any of our, where we put the palette and these kinds, and other things later on. Cool. Here we are. And we go back, here we are. So, and then, so, Arjan was yelling at me and said, Albert, what are you doing? You start a database and first thing is you drop the table. And I said, yeah, I do that. I just want repeatable test runs. And actually this drop the table is something like a test preparation. It should not be part of this operation here. It should be in some testing code. I do not have testing code. So what shall I do? We will start with testing in 2 weeks from now. And until then, we still have this clear. And yeah, avoid Adrian. He's going to yell at you. And say how stupid this is. So, and please, never forget to get rid of this code before you go into production with this. Otherwise, any restart of the database will actually kill all data. So we have to have this in mind that we are currently doing this and we need to get rid of it. And then we do a store with some example data. And let's have, one here, something like that. Just a different thing, and it should only be 8 amount, something that we see that there's some new data in here. And if soon as I store this, it should actually recompile. I store that one, I store that one. It probably has, and didn't see it. Okay. So again, we fill our database with some dummy data. And that was what we actually did last week. And therefore, we call a method which is called store. And it gets a build event as a parameter. And then it goes for the build event model. The build event model was still this, our database collection after all, the collection, which has been injected here by this magic formula. I have really problems to understand it. So it's actually this module that handles these kinds of stuff. And we have included in our module, the mongoose module. And then you can ask the mongoose module to give you this inject model. And this is actually the name of the database table that we are using. Or the database collection, after all, it's not a table. Table is for relational databases. And we named this build event model. So why? That's a bad name for that. Just event model, come on. I have no idea. And on this model, we can actually do a database query. And I do a find one and update. There are tons of possible database queries that you can actually do. And we will actually go through much of these Mongo operations through this course, and we will do it more systematically in the next weeks. So just for now, to get this connection ready, believe me that this is a reasonable idea. So, well, actually, Sebastian was fine with it. He is much better in that. Actually, to be honest, this year is the very first year that I'm using Mongo. I never did this before. So I'm not an expert in this, and I actually have to ask Sebastian all the time how this works. I have a rough idea how it should work, and then I have to ask Sebastian, is this a good idea or not? And he was fine with this one. So find one and update. Actually, you have 2 different situations. We might already have data for the block ID palette 042 in our database, and we just want to update that data, or there is no data with this block ID, then we want to insert new data in our database or in our collection. And this is something which is called a create or update operation. It's also often called an update or insert or upsert operation. And actually what I want to do is an upsert. So if there is old data, then replace it with the new data. And if there is no old data, then please insert it. And this is the way I actually do that. Oh, I lost a lot of my audience. They are gone. Pictures are gone. Ah, damn it. It's probably a connection problem. Okay, so find one and update is an operation of Mongoose, and it says, please, so which is the object that you would probably like to look for, whether it should be updated or inserted anew. Therefore, you provide something they call filter. And the filter is something that the block is a JSON object after all, or Java object, or JavaScript object, a JavaScript object, which has only one attribute, which is the block ID, and the block ID that I'm looking for shall be the block ID of our event. So, for example, palette 042. And so this is actually something that is used as a pattern. That you are a search pattern that you are searching for, and the find one and update operation is now going into my database and comparing all the objects that are living there, whether they match this pattern, whether they actually have a block ID with this value. And there is one of those. This one is returned, and I'm looking only for one. If there are multiple, give me just the first. And I'm sure that because block ID is the key I'm using, that there is only one, then I'm fine. And then it actually does the thing that it said here. If there is already one, then well, update it with the content of this event. I hope that is happening. Or replace it by the event. I'm not sure. As the event contains field values for all the fields, there's no difference. And if there's no such thing, then just insert it. So that is this option here saying update, like update is true. That actually says how to handle these situations, these two different situations. Okay, cool. Why is there an async here? Is that necessary?
No.
It's not necessary. Because I have no insert in there, no? Yeah.
That, so the line 13 returns.
Yeah, so there I don't need an async either.
Right.
And let's get rid of them. They are confusing. Okay. So when this model builder starts, it will have one object in its database already, and that should do the job. Let's have a look at this. There is my database, and
there's still an error in your backend because you do not have implemented get by tag method.
Yeah, that's true. So it doesn't compile and doesn't restart. Okay, Sebastian says I still have an error. I should resolve that one first. So okay, let's do that. And the problem that we still have is that the app service has this get by tag problem here. Yeah, so let's do a clear method get by tag. Let's jump there, and it just says I'm not yet implemented. Okay, that's bad. And I'm on the top. That's bad either.
Fine for the demonstration for the monolith.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine for the atlas. Because we do not use the backend.
Okay. My auto formatter doesn't work any longer. I have no idea why. Okay. So he says if I do a refresh here now, my event store now shouldn't have an object with the payload. It's still 42 and it's still 10. Didn't work.
Yeah, because the clear method won't work, I think.
The clear method didn't work.
Yeah, you see the collection is written all downcase, and in your clear method you use the candle case style.
Why do I do that? Okay. Thank you. Okay. And now, by doing a refresh, it says red shoes 10, and there's another red shoe. So yeah, and there's so many red shoes because it's the wrong database.
Yeah, we deleted the old one, so the insert do not do the right.
Okay. Let's have more event stores everywhere.
No.
Inject model. Here it's still event store. So event store was not that bad.
Yeah, this should be the same name as we use in the builder module.
It should be the same name everywhere, shouldn't it?
No. In the clean, you use a wrong method to delete something. Because you took to take the way around the b.dot collection. This is a workaround for the actual model you're using. And normally we have to write there something like builder event model remove. This deletes everything on the current.
Not for me.
And I'm not sure if you have to give some parameters to add. It should be fine.
Okay, and still the thing that we generate, is this fine? Event store?
The event, this name should be the same name you used in the builder model here, where you define the feature.
Yeah, so how do I go to the build? I am in the builder model.
Builder module.
Okay. We go for the builder module.
There you go.
There it has event store. That's just fine.
Yeah. To this name, we match the data.
So, okay, it's not this one.
Well, I think
Let's get rid of it. It's confusing. Drop it. So, hey, now it has my first database event stores. So why event stores? Where is this event stores coming from?
this did the library.
This is what?
Library did this. Normally, it appends an S because there are multiple documents in this.
And it does this lowercase.
And it doesn't show. Yes.
Okay. So, and this event store is somehow very empty, isn't it?
This could be several problems because now your method isn't async, but you use something async in a constructor, which is really bad. You should not do that.
So we need an async, you say.
Oh, no async, but do not do it in a constructor. There is an on module initialize method like an empty on edit from.
On?
You need to import, implement an interface. I think the name is on it. Or on module init.
Implement or what is extends? Implements
On module init.
on module init.
Yeah. Create a method.
No. So I need this method now.
Yeah.
On module init.
This can be async or whatever, and there you should do the.
Do I need an async here? Or just can call something which is
You
async?
need an async.
come on. And all this thing here can go there.
Yeah.
So we have moved this, and he says, I need an async here. And I have no idea why.
Because the clear gets back the query to do something, and you have to wait until the clear is finished.
I need an await too.
Yeah, wait. Yeah. Then you can be sure that the clear operation is ready
Okay.
before you store something.
And now it's there?
Hopefully.
Nope. Not at all. It has been there last week, so the old way was better. So this clear does a remove. The remove thing or the stored these?
Maybe you have to call up and find one updated execute at the end of the line.
Yeah. Dot exec.
Actually executes the query you created.
It was working before.
Maybe there's something back. You scroll up.
It is a little bit complicated.
You already have run the service. This is the reason why it's not then you run your old service on the ports you have.
I know. I'm not sure that I do that. I just will kill that one here.
So you just have to save the file when you reload it.
Please?
You just have to save the file when you reload everything. But now it's actually destroyed.
No, it's still working.
Now there should be the object.
Okay. Refresh. Oh, it's really a bitch. Hey, there's an object.
Hey, and you create it now in the correct way.
And it has 8. And it has shelf 01. Oh, that seems good. And I have it with the what? With the correct
You
name?
implement it in the correct way.
And it's in the correct way. So it's so much better now.
Yes.
So it was working before, but now it's much better. Okay. I love it. Okay. When did I start that one? Okay. Cool. So, I've lost everyone in my audience, I'm sure. So, let's go from the start. There is this request coming from my front end saying, please send me the list of all queries, of all palettes. It's mapped on app service get query. The get query thing is currently, says, I'm going to ask the database. So we go for the database, which is in the builder service, and do a get by tag, which is not yet implemented. Okay, what we have implemented is the store operation to fill our database with some initial data. And now let's do the get by tag. And I have to restart. File, new window, my prepared solution in order to get that thing running. Yeah, great. So, get by tag. I'm still loading here. Builder service. Well, that one is not too hard to implement after all. So I replace this by my prepared solution, and then I get advised by Sebastian what I'm doing wrong. I'm not sure whether I need this async here.
No, we don't need it.
You're sure?
Absolutely.
Let's get rid of it. So get by tag. So gets this tag, and we are actually looking for this one here. So what we do is we prepare a pattern for objects that we are looking for, which has app actually just the tags and the value palettes, and that's it. So we ask the event module with a find. We do a find, we do not a find one, we do a find. So we want many of those. And the search pattern is the text field of the objects we are looking for shall contain the tag that has been passed as a parameter. Oh, that's an easy one. Cool thing. And then we do an exec to actually run the query. So this one creates the query, this one runs the query, and we get a list of things, and then we return this list. That's great. And then it's actually a promise, isn't it? Who knows? Who cares?
It's a promise, yes. It's a promise with building events.
And we will discuss this promise thing later on. So the get by tag was called by our service. And so actually this should work by now, shouldn't it?
Yeah, please open the service first.
The service?
The app service where you use get by tag. Yeah, you use some.
Get by tag? Yeah, I do await here. That's an important one.
This is important.
And we will have a discussion as soon as I see that this actually works, and then we will discuss this. Well, actually, this await says, oh, this operation will need a lot of time, and but I kind of go on without waiting for it. Usually, when TypeScript or the AppWare or Nest.js calls an operation which is asynchronously doing a lot of time and actually continues work without waiting for the result. And so await actually says, no, you need to wait for the result, and then it will do something different. And when the result finally is returned from the database, we unpack it, and then we get this list of, well, database objects of build events, and we put these build events into an object of, that we call answer. It has a key and a result. And this is the list that we have retrieved from our database. And this one seems to be wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. You just can return the answer.
Yeah, we just return the answer. And then it says, oh, it's not a string, it's any. Build event or? Very cool. And here we are. So we can actually now go for, well, actually, yeah. Please?
Do you want to implement it correctly?
Well, actually, I have implemented it here. And if I just do a reload, it should actually do the job. No, it doesn't. And we'll have to look at it. But we will test it first on the old school way. So we do a get localhost 3000 query and palettes. And we just enter the URL by hand, and then it will run this thing. And it actually says, oh yeah, you get shelf 01 and amount is 8. So that looks great.
So this comes from the data.
Hey, yeah, it's from the database. You don't believe it? Let's change it. Let's go for the builder service and say the shelf is the first one. Oh, come on. Let's save the time. What's the current time? It's 13:08. That's not a big difference. Let's have a new block ID. No, that has two things. Let's have black t-shirt. In it. So I have done a store here, which is actually watched by our Nest.js. So Nest.js restarts and reruns everything. Then the on module init is going to be executed. This was database clear and does this new store. So with some luck, our database after a refresh. Contains black t-shirts in shelf 01. That's cool. And if I now do this request again, it says black t-shirt too. So it's actually querying the database. Yeah, that's so cool. And the question is, why does the Angular component not do that yet? So why is this guy still showing the old content?
This is your solution you prepared. It's not the
probably
actual.
Let's have a look. So this is a store task component. It actually does ng on init response await get any localhost to promise there is some data should do the job. Yeah, this one get by tag has been called. They are connected. It looks great. Let's have her for 2000. Yeah, that's cool.
Yes, correct. Black t-shirts is correct.
Black t-shirt. Here we are. So this is the debug output. Let's have a look at it. And then we see, yeah, it works. It works. It works. I'm so excited. Well, actually, I'm currently showing this store task string below the actual thing. And here I actually show a list of pallets. Pallets, where are you? That pile of pallets here. This ng4 runs through the pallets of our system. And if I go for the store task component, the pallet still has example data in them. So if I get rid of one of those, that was too much. Let's just go rid of these. And then it automatically has only one left. And this is still the data that it comes from the database, actually. And actually what we need to do is take the answer that we get back from the database and put it in this list of pallets. And I did not yet implement that. Cool. And then we have connected these two things. And then this is a good day for science. Let's have it. So, well, actually, we do not need example data, the old data any longer. Let's get rid of it. No, it's too early. Because we still need something that we need to see it. Okay. We do this ng on init, this response, and then there is this very important await. I would like to complete the code example, and then we will actually have a discussion on this await thing. Which actually says, run this get query, turn it into a promise, whatever this is, and because this will actually need time, you would usually go on, but now I want you to wait for the result. That's basically the thing that I want to happen. And as soon as the result comes back, put the result into this response variable, which is just an object. And then there is some data. And I do a JSON stringify of the response and put this in the store task string. And this is the output we see down here. Cool. And we get rid of that one soon. And then more debug output just because it didn't work for quite a long time when I was preparing this on Saturday, after all. Okay, so we need to do something more, and I will look this up from my prepared code because that's easier, and it was quite a pain to get there, and I don't want to have the pain again. And it's store tasks, and here we have it. No, it's not in here. Damn it. Oh, yeah. I was preparing that in this course here. So I will do it by hand. I can actually look it up with GitHub. Do I want that? Yeah, I want that. Just give me a minute. I'll look it up in GitHub. hopefully I find this. No, yeah, got you. And it's a warehouse, and it's the front end of the warehouse, and it's in source, and it's in app. No, yes, yeah, yes, and in components, and in store tasks, and in store task component TS. Here we are. And then there is, I do this in ng on init. I have actually need to ask Sebastian whether this is okay for him.
Yeah, you use promises in the front end, which is a bad way because Angular uses observables of that point. And an async ng on init isn't well.
Yeah, so what shall I do?
Remove the two promise and use the observer with subscribe.
Oh, I don't like the subscribe.
But it's the correct way.
I don't like it.
Then you have to do the promise.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's do it this way. It didn't work last time.
Yeah.
And then.
But it's a little tip. You can use the result in your front-end HTML where you use these.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
And then you can just do a bar and JSON, and then you do not have to parse it by hand, and it does the pipe of Angular.
I do it first in the way I have prepared it, and then we discuss the other.
It's absolutely fine.
Okay.
But you have now to show the course, because without the enable course of the main of the backend, this won't work by the students. After you call from Angular the backend without the enable course, this will be the header problem.
Oh yeah, thank you. Very, very important thing. Just insert these 3 lines of code here. And before we do that, we go for some little thing that I just forget to mention. And we go for the app controller after all. So we are in the backend again. And actually, we are running our front end using a small web server that is provided by Angular. And we run our backend with the web server provided by Nest. And our front end that get its HTML content from Angular is now doing a query to the Nest server. And this is forbidden. This is a security issue, and it's a dangerous, attackable way. So someone could actually hijack your front end and then inject some queries to another service, and actually there is fraud going on that uses these techniques, and therefore by default our Nest backend server accepts queries only from HTML pages it has delivered itself. And what you do here is you use actually 2 backends within one front end, and that's not allowed. And the problem is a cross origin, and the R stands for CORS. Restrictions, well, I have no idea. And usually this is forbidden, and you actually have to make this working here in our testing environment. We will actually switch this cross-origin security off, and in the productive environment, we will combine actually the HTML code that is created by Angular and all the things that come from Angular and from our Nest thing into a single thing, and then it should be working. Am I right? Yeah, cool. And then we won't need this anymore. And this is done in main TS, in the backend. And if you do not, you will finally, if you start to follow my code, it will not work, and it gives you a very uncomprehensive error, and it's gelling at you. You cannot do that. And then you have to add this single line app.enable course to your main TS in your backend. So the backend, and this tells the backend allow or enable cross-origin requests. Damn it.
Which are simply three headers.
Huh?
Which are simply three headers.
3 headers.
There's 3 headers which we added in each.
It's a pretty simple thing, and we still need this is response.
Yeah.
And then this is the thing to solve this? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have now an attribute response where this response is going to be stored to, and I give this an explicit type any. I don't have a type any. And then TypeScript doesn't care about what I'm writing any longer. And, or the linter or whoever. So then I run this query, get any, on this. So I'm running on port 4200. So Angular is running on 4200. And Nest is running on 3000. And so I want to query from my Angular front end, Angular provided front end, the Nest web backend. And so we need these course things. And I do this query palettes thing. And I do a toPromise, which is not the only way to do this. And then I actually get a promise, which what this is, which I can wait for, and this waits until this actually has worked, and then it unpacks the promise and gets the answer object that our database has sent us into this response thing. And I put this console log because it didn't work for me quite a long time, and then I construct something which I call result for whatever reason, and I do a loop. So we get a list of these build events back from our store. Okay, should we only get one? Shouldn't we have two? Yeah, come on. We will try that later on. We actually expect a list of things, and there is this answer thing that comes. It has a key and a result, and we go for this. Okay. F2, let's call this answer. That's cool. So we get this query answer, which has a key and a result, and the result is an array of things. And what we actually want is an array of palettes. And so I'm not using this result anyhow. So let's get rid of it. I say this.answer.result is this list of build events. And then I loop through this with this variable p, which is, again, not a good name after all. Should be an event. F2. Yeah. So this is the events that I get back from my database. And I ask each event for its payload. And because I know the payload of these events I have been querying for all our palette data, I just put this into the palette. Oh, that should do the job. And I save this. And you see that this one here is running. And it's running automatically. And then it also already did a get by tag call with palettes here. So it was restarting, refreshing the page. Refreshing the page, and it has 8 black t-shirts in shelf 01. Isn't this cool? I love it. Okay, let's get rid of this dummy data up here. EHAR, which was in this one. EHAR. Okay. And actually, Sebastian likes to have semicolons here. And probably here too. And why not here? Yeah. Okay. and didn't do this query again.
Oh, there's an error.
There's an error
Line 27.
in line 27. So what's wrong? What did I change after all? That's probably because event has what type? I have no idea. Can I say colon any here? It's probably a naming conflict.
Something more. What happens to hover about it?
Type never. This dot answer dot result.
This is okay. This is because your array is now empty and you do not need. You have to put in the line 14. Double. You have to say this is an array of any.
Yeah, of course.
Now we do it.
Yeah, here we go. Okay. So yeah, yet another thing. So we are fighting the type system of TypeScript. And if you do not provide a type and it says, oh, I do not know it, so it says, and when we have had some example data in our array, then he got an idea what the content of this array was. It could be an array of strings, of integers, of everything. And because there was an object in there, then he said, okay, it is probably any. And then we removed that information. And so it was complaining, I have no idea what palettes actually contains. And so I cannot actually push these things that you are going to push in here. Okay. Damn it. I was fighting this all weekend. So what I have now is only just black t-shirts in here. That's cool. We do not need that one any longer. Let's get rid of this one. So we actually could, well, do something which is very bad and just comment this line of code. Yeah. So the clean code directives from Uncle Bob says, do not leave commented code in your thing. That's bad because it's confusing and we should get rid of it later on. But now it's just black t-shirts. Cool. And let's have more real data in our database after all. So we go for the it's builder service. I love it. Yeah. Here we do on module init. We fill some example data in our database. Let's have a second entry there. And that will be palette 43, and it's 1328, and it's palette stored, and it's, it says it's what I choose. So that one needs to be changed. That one should be black t-shirts. And okay, let's have black shoes. Here, and it's palette 43, it's palette stored palette, so it's palette 43 now, red shoes. Let's have more of those. Let's have again 12 something, and it should be shelf 02. So I'm storing this into my database. That database has restarted, or the Nest backend has restarted. This one has not restarted, but if I do a restart here, refresh, now I get red shoes, shelf 02, lecture Chef01 and hello students, because I do not do the overwrite the content of this store task something here. Cool. Hey, that works. Do we have time for the send?
15 minutes. 15 minutes.
No, we have another 50 minutes. That's cool. That should do the job. So, if I have another barcode, which is barcode 3, for example, and there is a new product, jeans on it, and it's about 5 pairs or 6, and it's going to be in shelf 03. 03. I'm fine with that, and I send the ad. Nothing happens. Well, actually something happens. We can actually see this. It's our F12. It gives something down here, which is very small. Yeah, I think I can actually enlarge it. It says, oh yeah, you have entered the pallet data, barcode, product amount, and location in here. So this console output is actually provided by our store task component. And let's have a look actually in the store task component HTML, and then look for the add button. Here it is. No, that's the store task component, and the add button actually sends up to the add palette component, and the add palette component has these inputs, input, a barcode input, product input, amount input, and a button where on click I go for the add palette operation. And this is in the add palette component. And there we have an empty constructor. We have attributes, barcode, product, amount, location, still missing semicolon, and ng on init doing nothing. And so barcode, product, amount, location, and ng on init have been bound to the input fields. Give me the very first one here. Via this who thing. We are going to replace this soon. They said to me it's not the best way to do this. We could use, I have no idea, something else. What?
Reactive form.
Reactive forms. We will actually do that for the shop. This one here stays like it is. Or for the next thing. Yeah, we need reactive forms here that is slightly different syntax and has some advantages, but hey, come, it's fine here. It says actually the content of this input field has been bound to this barcode variable of my component or barcode attribute of my component. So all the data is finally there. Yeah, and so what we do is we create a palette object with the barcode, product, amount, and location taken from these attributes. And currently we just do this console log JSON stringify from this new palette, which is then the data that we have entered here. You're fine with that? So let's have some B4 and call add again. And you see now it's saying the new content that we have been taken here via this mechanism I have shown you. Okay, cool. I have prepared that and I'm going to my prepared solution. Yeah, that looks pretty much the same thing, and it actually is not the correct. I have to go for prepare. I love it. Here it is. So what we do now, we go for the add palette. And well, leave that here. No. Add some code here, which is now we create something that we call command. Well, actually, we want to send something which should be an event to the backend where this is going to be stored in our event store. And we do have a lot of design discussions, Sebastian and I and Max and all the other people, here how these things should be named. And well, events are these things that we are actually storing in our database. And well, actually, when we send something from our front end to the back end might refuse to do what we want because we do violate some consistency constraints. We do not provide enough data. We do not have access rights and these kinds of stuff. And therefore, well, I have decided that things that are sent from the front end to the back end are now called commands. And that the back end, when it receives a command from the front end, can think about it and then split it down to multiple things that then actually become build events to be stored in our database. So the front end sends commands. So this is a new command, and a command has an opcode, which says which is the command I'm going to send. This becomes the event type eventually. And it has parameters. The parameters is the payload actually. Should we name this payload? Would that be easier for you guys? Who wants to say that this is a payload? Who is fine with parameter? If I change this now, it will destroy my prepared solution. So no, I'm not doing this. Okay, let's store this. Nothing, well, fancy is happening. And now let's have a new command here. Yeehaw. If I go back to my front end and I press add, it has all empty in here. I should never do that. It should not accept this, accept something that is empty, but it does. Okay. Still it works. And if I have, now I have a command object with an opcode and parameters is all this palette data. Great. And then I actually can send this to the backend, and I have even a try catch here. I love it. Yeehaw. Okay. And what I do is again an HTTP something. Therefore, I will actually need something in my, well, access to this global HTTP component, which I am going to inject into my application in this way. And then it says you need to import these things. Yeah, fine for me. So now I have an HTTP thing, and I'm going to post a JSON object, which I say by having an any here, could do posting a string or whatever. And post is another kind of request. Your browser usually does a get, but you can also do a post. And usually get is reading from the server, and post is writing to the server, sending data to the server. And these are the two directions that we currently are using. And then I give a URL. This is my Nest server. Command is another thing to be implemented. And this is the data I'm going to send. And I again do this to promise because I do not like the other thing. So if I do an await here, I have to put an async here. Otherwise, he is complaining, and we will again discuss this async await thing soon. Probably next week first. And actually, yeah, that's a complicated thing. So this is again something that will need a lot of time. So usually to execute one line of code, TypeScript will use something like microsecond. Though you can execute 1 million lines per second, roughly, depends on your computer. And if you do a database query, this is several milliseconds. So you can have some hundreds or at most 1,000 database queries or backend queries per second.
Millions.
You can have millions HTTP requests per second?
Millions database operations.
Yeah, but HTTP requests, you have something like, it will use a millisecond, roughly. 10 times faster or slower, you have no idea. And so you can execute about 1,000 lines of TypeScript while doing just one of these HTTP requests. And because while you are waiting for something, your browser is not going to be responsive anymore. It will not react to clicking or anything, resizing and reshaping things. And to avoid this freezing of your web page, you do this asynchronous execution. And anytime you do an await in your method body, your method needs to be asynchronously in order to tell the application, please do not wait until I have run to completion, but go ahead. And as soon as I hit a wait thing, then you can go on with other businesses, wait for other events, and wait for this here. Okay. But I have to prepare some slides on that. It's too complicated to tell it to you in 10 minutes, and I only have 5. So, yeah. Should I? No, I should not. No, I do not. I do not. I do not. Do it for now this way, and I'll explain it next week. So, once the waiting has been over, I get the response in here, and yeah, actually, a post request is not supposed to reply with any data, but only with some error code. But you can actually reply with some data that actually tells you how the backend has reacted to your request. And we will actually do that, and I have some console log here in order to show this to you. And I have actually encapsulated this into a try catch because this may fail. So the service may be out of duty, may be down, and then this will actually time out, and then you should actually notice that something went wrong to actually, well, send it again later or do something about it. Okay, fine. So this is the front end thing, and if I run this now, yeah, it will probably return an error. Let's have some data in here again. B1, P1 to here. Please, this will definitely throw something. No, it just does this. No, there's no error here. Yeah, there is an error here. It says, oh no, I do not have this 3000 command thing. So, well, actually, my Nest server says, no, I'm not going to respond to that. No, because we did not implement that yet. So I go back here, and I go for my app controller. That is where all these queries come in. And I go for my master solution, and I go for the app controller, and copy, paste the code. I'm so happy that I prepared that. And I put it here somewhere. So why not? And then it says, no, you do not know post. Yes, I do know. And it says, oh, no, you do not have a body. So there's a lot of imports that we need. And you do not have command. Oh, that's bad. So where does this command come from? I invented that on my own. Yeah. Command. Let's go there. Oh, that's an impressive one. Copy, and I did this in Model Builder. Paste. Yeah, here we have it, command. It just provides the type for this, and it's command opcode parameters. And actually, it's the same thing that we were using in the front end. And actually, I would like to use this command type that is in my backend, in my frontend too, and I will discuss with Sebastian during the week whether I'm allowed to import this type in the frontend, where I should place it in order to have it available in frontend and in backend.
Never.
Never share code before. Yeah, why not?
Good thing.
I think this is the idea of a monorepo that you have.
No, of course not. But then we have built pipeline, which we do not have.
Okay. So there will be a mechanism to have this. Okay. And I will discuss this with Sebastian. So now it should have a command, shouldn't it? No, it should be able to import a command.
Lovely.
Lovely. And then there should be a method, handle command, which I do not have. Let's have a look at it. So there comes in a command, a post request with this thing that matches this pattern here. And then I said, the body of that was request or HTTP post request. Please refer it to this parameter or put it in within this parameter. And the body is actually this thing here. So that thing that is the content of my post message after all. And that is called body. And therefore, this is going to work, hopefully. Yeah. Okay. And hopefully there's this JSON object in here later on. And I do some console things, and then I said, okay, let's handle the command. And this is still the controller, which is just doing the URL decoding. And then we go for that one, and we do not yet have this method, so we create it. Hey, that's cool. Probably asynchronic, but who knows? And let's have it. Where am I? Yes, it's the wrong place. No, it's the right place.
Right. There you have that. Correct.
Cool.
There you can maybe add the model builder something.
Yeah. And so we are in the app service TS, and we need the handle command. And for some reason, I have prepared that. Yeehaw. And I have an async here. No, I don't need that.
No, you don't need.
Because I do not do an wait. And therefore, I don't need an async. But I need to import the command. Great. This is my own command thing. And yeah, I had such a great trick to access this thing. I'm going to call an operation from the model builder service from my database. And so I'm going to have an await soon, probably. And the operation I'm going to call is the store palette operation. Yeah, let's have a look at it. And I am asking the command for its opcode. And if the opcode is store palette, so then I do the store palette and just pass the parameters of the thing, which is the palette information. Okay, let's have this one. Well, actually, I'm going to copy it anyhow. So I do not need to. Yeehaw, come on. And I need to go for the builder service. Yes. And get by tag store. I love it here. Store palette. This does an no. Oh no. Do I wait for it? No, not at all. And I have some example data. No. It takes the palette data, which is parsed as a parameter. And then it wraps this palette data with an event, because we would like to store events. So it does not check the command parameters that come for consistency, but it could. And then it could refuse to it. Let's have a comment like that here. Check. Should check. The palette for consistency. And then it does, I'm late already, oh my God. But we are almost there. I put an event here. Yeah. Later. Okay. So what I just do when I decide I want to store this information, I create an event with the block ID, which is the barcode of the palette, then with some time, which is just the current time, with the event type, palette stored, with the tags, which is palettes, because it's a new palette, and palette.product, that is red shoes or blue jeans or whatever is stored on that palette that I can query for that later on. And I do as a payload for this event the palette. Right, that's cool. And then I can call this .store event. And then it should add it to my database. And store did not work. Try catch is always a good idea. And some console log. And hey, that's it. Not too hard after all. And let's save this one, and it should have been restarted. And if I go for my application, and just let's restart it. Store task, I have red shoes and black t-shirts in here. And I go for add, and I do B1, and the product is jeans, and there are 20, and it's on shelf 007, why not? Add. What did he say?
I think this is fine.
It did its job, great. Yeah, looks good. So if I go for my warehouse and the store task, there are jeans. I have then added a new palette to my database. It's in my database, you believe it?
That's right.
Huh? Let's have a look, or let's have a look at the database. It should be in here. And let's do a refresh. And there's a B1. It's the block. And it has a payload. And it has time. It's 12:51:36:9810. That. Something that. Time. We need to talk about it just for a minute. Whenever you use a timestamp that you put in a persistent database, you use Greenwich Mean Time, not local time, because that is so confusing. And so you always use Greenwich Mean Time, which is actually this Z at the end of this time string, and you use this format, which is International Standardization Organization ISO standard. This is the way to do it. There's no other way to do it, just like this. We can argue on how many, if you use just microseconds or nanoseconds here, how many digits you use after the dot, but that's it. That's all I'm able to discuss. And the reason is that if you store your timestamp this way, you can compare them as strings. You do not need to return them into real data objects in order to know which is later, which is earlier. And therefore, you need a standardized way to store this data in the database. This is not the same thing that you show to your customer. If you show a timestamp to your customer, you will have local time zones and different habits in Germany and in Europe and in Cameroon and in the States and in British and wherever. So you deal with different formats at your user interface, but only a single format in your database. That's full stop. No discussion on that. Yeah, cool. But it's there, is it? Yeah, cool. Should we do another one? Come on. Let's have more. Add one more. And then this should be V2. Champagne. Is this a product? Yeah. Champagne. Our amount. Oh, 10 boxes. first row. We need it close to our the fridge. Let's have it in the fridge. Add. And it probably did work. And if we go back, and there's one thing that I need to ask Sebastian now, how we can have that done. So here it is. There's champagne in our fridge. That's cool. And what I actually would like to have is, and I push this add button, I would like to, go to the store task page automatically. And this is done with the router, and Sebastian knows how. And then we are done for today. So it's probably not the app service, is it? No. It's the please. No. Where I want it? What's this handle? No. We in the front end, not in the back end. Yeah. And I need to find my front end again. Store task component. No, the app component. Add palette component. Show yourself. Add palette component is the front end. Yeah. It's so hard. It's the front end. It's the add palette. This is the add palette operation that does the handling the click. And when it's done with this, I want it to go to, and now the button tells me how to invoke the router to reroute to change the page. Or should I Google that? I should Google that. Or shall we do this as a homework? Oh, that's a nice homework. Yeah, you Google it, and then you put some magic in here that actually sends your page to the router, and you actually Google that on the Angular pages. Somewhere it says Angular router by from code or whatever. Okay, so then we are done for today. I love it. We have actually connected our front end and our back end. We can actually query for all the palettes, and we can add new palettes via our user interface. Isn't that great? So that is actually what I hope to achieve today, and I will have more details on what was going on behind the scene next week. But actually, we have done a good progress. We actually did. Where's this? Hey, this pink thing here. We do this here. We actually have this orange thing stored into our database, which is actually true. And then we can actually start thinking about having the next service, so having the backend of our microshop and have those two communicating, which is pretty much an easy thing next week. Okay, so I love it. Thank you for your attention, and Max will actually post the details of the assignment in the Discord. Is this true? Yeah. So, and then you have it, and see you on Wednesday by grading the assignments. Having fun. See you.